Hello everyone. My name is Stormthebard, and you're here because you are a new Elden Ring player or a Souls player. And what we're going to do is we're going to start from character creation, and I'm going to get you on your way to your adventure, because this game is absolutely amazing. It's by far one of my favorite FromSoft games there is. It's an incredible RPG, an incredible open world. Yes, it is tough. It is a Souls game, but there are ways to get around a lot of things and enjoy yourself. And we're going to talk about those as we get going. Now, we're not going to be doing anything like getting the best OP weapon or anything like that. This is just starting out on a class of your choice, getting you out into the world and getting a feel for how the game works, mechanics-wise, things like that. So, we're going to start with that right off the bat. So we're going to go into new game first. And we're going to pick our character. I've already got and deciding, like I said, you could really go with anything. Any of these characters will work depending on your kind of play style. If you're more sword and board, the vagabond might work for you. If you're more of a dexterity warrior with like two weapons, jumping back and forth, also works. Hero, very good class, has a high vitality and stuff. We're going to go through those as well too. So what we're going to do is my choice for this, and to show you that basically, like I said, you can really do anything, is I'm going to go with the prisoner, because I wanted to make this this is another character offhand I wanted to make too. I like making multiple characters, and this is a character offhand I wanted to make, which is a magic swordsman. So I started doing this battle mage in Dark Souls 3. This is the idea I want to do with this. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to make a male. Your choice, male, female, of course. I have no name just yet, but I think I've got an idea. Now this right here really doesn't have any effect whatsoever. It's just more role-playing sense. Do you want to be more mature? Do you want to be older? Do you want to be younger? Etc. and stuff. We're not going to really go too deep into character customization. That's for your call. But I'll show you where you can do that. Again, if you go back here, this is if you were like, well, maybe I don't like this. Because one of the big things here is the character stats. This is a huge thing that you're going to want to get into, especially when you start getting through making builds and such. You get through your first character, you get through your first run, you're like, oh man, I'd really like to do like a paladin next, or I'd like to do a magic user, or a ranger, or a thief, or an assassin, etc. And let's, so if you can see down the bottom here, right off the bat, you can hit in this case we're on the PlayStation 5, so we're going to hit the thumb pad, and explanation is a great thing, because there's no really big tutorials or anything to tell you about all this stuff. So that's why we're going to kind of go through this, get an idea. So level, pretty straightforward. That's your using runes to go ahead and make your characters and such. You're going to get these runes. Runes are basically the currency throughout the whole game, and what you use to level up, what you use to also upgrade your weapons, and you buy spells, things like that and such. But we'll get a little more into that as we go. I'm going to try not to overwhelm too much. Vigor, this is your HP. So if you want a high HP bar, which I usually do for a lot of my starting characters because I like having high HP. And before I go further into this, let me just come out and say there's no wrong way to play a Dark Souls or Elden Ring or whatnot and have you. And we'll talk about that as we go through, because I'm going to show you some things that some people might be like, oh, well, you're just spamming magic, or you're just summoning and stuff like that. That's not a true rule, so don't ever listen to that. Play the way that the game is made to play. In terms of, you make that choice. If you want to summon a friend to come help you with a boss, or summon someone random to come help you, perfect. That's an option. If you want to summon what we'll talk about later, these spirits to help you, which is exactly why they put them in the game, to help new players and stuff, that's your option. There's no wrong way to play. Unless you're using a bot and mod and cheating and stuff. But even then, that's your call. As long as you're not ruining anything, I guess it would be the way to go. Anyway, let's get back into it. So vigor is your HP if you want a high HP and stuff. Now this also tells you right off the bat that vigor is going to be fire resistance and immunity to poisons, immunity to diseases, things like that and such. So that's pretty big. Mind, so what would be considered mana is considered focus points. Focus points are what you use to cast your spells. So depending on how high of a pool you want, how many spells you want to cast. Mine can be a big thing, depending on your build, depending on what you're doing and stuff. So, like in this case, one of the big spells we're going to get is a magic that's going to cover our sword, and it's going to make our sword more powerful and give us like a magic status on our sword. So we're really not going to need mine that much. We're not going to need a lot of focus points, because once you put that on, that stays on your sword. It doesn't take away your mana and stuff. It only takes away the first time you put it on your sword, and that's it. But again, depending on your character class, depending on what you're doing and stuff. If you're playing a straight up mage and you're just casting spells and whatnot, then yeah, you're going to want a high mind thing. Endurance, also a big one depending on the type of character. Endurance could be huge. Now, keep in mind, when casting spells, this also uses endurance. So that's always good to know if you're going to be casting a lot of spells. When you're on horseback, which we'll be getting into that as well, when you're fighting on horseback, that's going to be affected by your stamina. When you have big weapons, if you're a big warrior type, you like the big weapon, the big, two-handed sword, like I do, you're going to use stamina. So that's a big thing too. Rolling is going to cost stamina. So depending on how much of that you're going to use, how much of that is going to affect your character, you're going to want to look into that. Now, endurance also affects, this is nice too, because in Souls there was an actual different thing that was just for this, but luckily they changed it up that endurance also affects how heavy your equipment can be. So if you want to wear heavy armor and stuff, like this character, we're going to be doing heavy armor or a decent size armor, and then we're going to be doing like a rapier, S-stock, a swordsman type. So, and then some spells. So we'll definitely be putting some into endurance. Strength, depending on the type of weapon you want to wield and stuff. So if you're the type that likes a big axe or a big hammer or a big two-handed sword, then this is definitely the way you want to go. There's some amazing strength weapons out there, and they also pack some crazy punches. A lot of people kind of go with those strength builds, and they build up like these characters that can just do these hits that are insane. But they also negate some things, because if they get hit, they maybe only can take a few hits, give or take, depending on how they're building and stuff. But again, and if you want to see builds, there's tons of them all over YouTube. I highly recommend going to Fextra Life. They got great build videos that they do. They're a fantastic place that gives you all the things. If you want to look for certain items or whatnot, definitely Fextra Life is the way to go on that one. So, and they do that with a lot of their RPGs and their Souls games. Dexterity. Again, it's depending on there's two main things when it comes to weapons. There's your strength weapons, there's your dex weapons and stuff. Dex weapons are kind of like, so that sword we're wielding right now, the S-stock, that's more of a dex weapon. It's a faster weapon, right? Whereas strength weapon is more of a slower but heavy punching weapon. So dexterity, if you're doing say you want to wield two scimitars in hand or something like that, or you want to be you want to wield a rapier or an S-stock and stuff, that's the way to go. Now, as you can see here, this also reduces casting time as well too, which is pretty big. So with this character type, with the swordsman I'm making, definitely going to be high dexterity, going to be high endurance and vigor. And I think that's pretty much what we're going to be working with there. And then, of course, intelligence for new spells and stuff. So that's pretty much going to be our four main things. But your call, depending on what kind of character you're making and stuff. This also makes it harder to be knocked off your horse, and it softens fall damage. Also two nice things depending on your character build. Intelligence, again, if you're going for high magic using, this is the way to go. This boosts your magic power as well, so we're definitely going to be putting this in, because we're not going to really be focusing too much on the sword itself. We're going to be focusing more on boosting up this magic, so when we put this buff on our sword, it's going to make it more powerful. And faith, this is more if you're going for light spells and things like that. Healing spells, lightning spells, all that kind of stuff kind of revolves around faith. It's really cool. So if you want to do a paladin character or a cleric, you can definitely go into that. Arcane, again, more stuff that has to do with magic. You can see here that it affects. This also is an interesting thing because it affects discovery, so finding things. I don't know too much how the discovery works in terms of. I never really messed around with it that much, but I'm betting that something else could probably explain that a little more. And as you can see here, it also affects holy defense, vitality, sorceries, incantations. So that's pretty much what we got going on. Those are all the stats. And those are the main things you want to keep in mind depending on your character build or what you're working with. For first-time players, like I said, really just kind of go with the class that you want to work with, and then just keep in mind because they usually kind of pinpoint and break down what the high stats are. So in here you can see that their higher stats are dexterity and intelligence. So they put 14 and 14 on both those. They also got a 12 mind, which is pretty decent, and they've got 11 figure. Like all around, the prisoner's a pretty good character if you want to do kind of a battle mage, like a fighter mage and stuff. That's exactly what this character was built to be like. So Keepsake. Now these are different things that you can start your character out with. Souls games have always been known for this kind of stuff. My personal reference, and I think a lot of people will go with this, is the Golden Seed. The Golden Seed, and I'll show you how this works, it reinforces your flask. So you have these healing flasks, like potions, and you only have X number of them until every time you rest at a site of grace, or, you know, whenever you get a chance to. Actually, there's another way to get them too, and we'll talk about that, to get your potions back and stuff. But unlike other RPGs, you're not going out and buying healing potions. It's not like Final Fantasy. You can't have 99 of them and stuff like that. So with that being said, this is a great starting item because right off the bat, instead of having, I think it's 3 or 4 in the beginning, you'll have, I think it's 3 in the beginning, you'll have 4 altogether. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to pick that up. Now, as you progress and you make through, and if you really like this game and you want to do new builds, that's when you can play around. You can look at these different things and say, oh, you know, I think I want this instead this time. I'm going to start out with this. You know, I know in the beginning there's a place where I could use this key, so I think I'm going to start with that right off the bat. You know, there's different ways to do it, but this is always the best thing no matter what character you're building for the first time. All right, so with that, now we can go into like appearances. I'm not going to spend, usually I spend a lot of time going through these. I'm going to just kind of make something real quick that I like, and we'll go through it fast. So you've got plenty of options to go through and stuff. There's actually, if you want to just kind of pick a template, you can kind of go through this for a face and stuff. So, let's see. We're just going to, like I said, we're going to kind of make this kind of quick. I like that. We'll go with that. You can pick your choice of hair and whatnot. Kind of like the Marcus Aurelius look. Going into the 80s now. There we go. Ragnarok. Now we're getting for a Valhalla-like look, which is kind of cool. So I think I'm going to actually go with that. That's awesome. And we'll kind of do a black because I like black, and then we can get into this is really robust too because you can put like white hairs into it as well. There's all kinds of different like choices and stuff like that. We're gonna put some facial hair on here, give him that going on, and that's already matching the hair, so that's good to go. And that's really about it. And then sometimes we get kind of further into it if you want to do like eyeliners and stuff, if you want to do like a tattoo or a marking or something like that. You can play around with all these, and then you can move them around and do whatever you want and stuff. So in this case, he's going to have the mask on, so I'm not going to really worry about that too much. So we're going to go with that, and then we can go with the body and change this up if we want. He's going to be kind of jumping around a little bit, so we're going to keep him the way he is. You can go in here. We've already done that. You can go here, change up your skin color if you want. Make him really, really pale. So we're going to do that. We'll go to mature voice since we got the mature thing going on. And then on top of it, if you really like what you built and you're like, well, maybe I might make another character like him later, you can save it in here. All right, so there we go. So that's pretty much all set. So, and you could also go to choose base template. So if you don't want to go through all that and you just want to get right into the game, you could choose here. And as you can see here, you've got these different characters. So if there's something that kind of calls out to you, which in reality, I kind of like the Northerner. I just want to change it up a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go there. It's got the mature voice already. Cool, cool, cool. So we're just going to change the hair. Well, the hair is fine, but I just want to change the color of the hair. Because again, I like my prisoner. We're going to give him like dark like that. There we go. And we're going to change up the facial hair. There we go. Yeah, I like that. That sounds good. And then I think we're just going to change the... we're going to change this up, give it more of an amber, because that's my usual choice. All right, beyond that, yeah, I like that. Okay, perfect. So we're going to save that over that, actually, and overwrite that. And then we're going to just jump right in. Oh, we need a name, of course. This is going to be based off my old druid. So Oberus, one of my main characters I played in WoW for like so many times. And there we go. So we're gonna dive right in. Now I'm gonna skip this beginning and stuff. You can watch this yourself. It's a fantastic opening. They did a really good job with this, but we're gonna get right into the game so that way we can just get into things. I do advise checking that out. Alright, so we're in the beginning and stuff like that. You could take in the beautiful, just like the awesome design work and whatnot. You get a feel for our character. So in the beginning, the way they did this, and they did this in Bloodborne as well too. Okay, so we got our first item, the Tarnished Wizened Finger. So in order to see a weapon, you would hit your start, go in inventory. And this will, every time you do something new, you'll kind of get a little bit of a tutorial thing anyway, which will show you stuff, which is great. A square will give you an idea to do this. So this is the way that you write messages. You're going to see these all over the place if you're playing online and whatnot. Even if you're playing offline, the developers put their own messages down too. So depending on your style, that's the other thing about this game. There are two methods, two ways to play. You can put the game offline, you can put the game online. So if you're playing online, that means you can summon other players to help you with certain things. You can play co-op, etc. However, you do open yourself up for being invaded by other players. That has always been a big thing in Souls, of other players coming to invade. But there are ways for that to be helped or whatnot, whether you're playing with two people or whatnot, or there's usually some sort of, like, I guess a covenant or a guild that will send other players to help if they're being invaded and stuff. And I believe it's the same thing here as well. So that's something to keep in mind. If you're playing for the first time, sometimes offline's cool too, because then you don't have to worry about, like, if you don't want secrets ruined and things like that, which a lot of people love that in their first Souls run. So that's how we go with that. This is where we can change our equipment and stuff. Again, once you open these, it's going to explain the same thing that I'm explaining. So you would go here, you click on what you want, and then you could go here. Also, it's always advisable, check your stats out, make sure that you can actually wield certain things. It will tell you. If not, there'll be a little X next to them and say, oh no, you can't wield that. Not yet, or until you have, like, say, 20 in strength, or you have 15 in strength, you can't wield that, etc. So these are the little signs I'm talking about, so you can check these out. Praise the Elden Ring. There's a lot of these. Now you can always go and you can give these good reviews for people that do it and stuff. I don't know what the bonus they get from it. I know before there was, like, certain things they would, like, fill a flask back up, or they would give you, like, a little extra runes or something like that. So, or souls. Now I'm so used to it with being that. All right, so you're gonna walk out in the world for your first time. Now, this is where things are going to escalate. So you're going to come out here, you're going to see the beauty of it all, which is really nice. And then you're going to come down here. Oh, I just realized where this is now. Ah, interesting. You're going to come down here, you're just going to kind of explore around a little bit. We're just going to head straight into it. So this is kind of their opening of, we're just going to give you a feel for what's coming. And again, they did this in Bloodborne, they've done this in other games, where they kind of always throw this, like, one first big boss in where you're like, oh my gods, why do I have to do this? So you're going to see this right off the bat when you start. This dude comes in. Of course, you can fight it if you want. But more than likely, for a first-time player, you're probably going to get killed by it. And that's perfectly fine, because that's what it's made for. It's made to just give you a little bit of a feel. Yeah, so there we go. And that's basically, it's not there to like bring you down or be like, welcome to Elden Ring. You know, it's more just, you know, let's give you just a feel for what kind of adventures awaits and stuff like that, or the craziness that awaits you. So we're going to get into this. It's going to be another cutscene. We're going to cut through this. Again, this is stuff, you know, I want you to watch on your own when you go to play and stuff and enjoy it. Take your time. And that's another big thing that we're going to talk about is taking your time in these games, 100%. Because they're not made to be fast and running in like a Diablo game or Skyrim or whatnot and stuff like that. You know, other RPGs are kind of like, you know, I got my big sword, I'm just running it, you know. No, you want to take your time, learn your enemies' movements and stuff, you know, and then when you start feeling more confident, that's when you can kind of run in. When you see an enemy and you're like, okay, I know how this enemy works, I know how they're going to attack. Oh yeah, I can charge this enemy no problem. Like my big thing is I love fighting on horseback with my two-handed sword. Absolutely love it. So like I go in there and I just rush in and just start cutting everything up, which is great. Hey Jay, how you doing? All right, so this right here, this is going to be one of the first things you see. It's like your first NPC to kind of talk to. It gives you an idea. So we're going to skip this. Basically what's going on is down here. He's going to tell you to jump down here, and this is where the tutorial of the game kind of begins. So what this does down here is as you go through, it's going to prompt up all the things to show you how to attack, how to dodge, how to parry, how to do all the things. And that's something that you can easily just learn on your own once you come down here. It's going to explain all the mechanics. So go down there. But without a doubt, I'm going to skip it because we're just going to kind of get into things. So we're not taking all the time to do it. But I'm going to skip this, but I want you as a player who's watching this video and whatnot, or, you know, to go down there and just learn all the things. And then you're going to have your first like mini boss fight, and it'll be really easy because you're going to know the mechanics and everything at that point. And that's kind of your training ground. So that's your training ground down there, is to get you prepared and whatnot. You're going to have some fights on you, and then you're going to have a small mini boss fight, which is pretty much something we're going to see out in the main world anyway. So that's the first thing you're going to want to do, is just go down there, do that. But in this case, I'm going to skip it, because then when you're done, you're just going to basically come right out of that hole, come right back here, and then we're going to come over this way. This way the video and the stream is not also like super, super long, because we got a lot still to converse and talk about. So once that's done, you go through that tutorial, you go through that training ground and whatnot, this is when the real game begins. So we open these doors up, start making our way out into the world. Now this right here is your first site of grace. This is where you are going to, now I think you're gonna, if I remember right, you're gonna see this in the tutorial place where I was just talking about anyway, but this right here is going to be a huge staple in the game. This is basically your little checkpoint area. This is your resting area, the whole 9 yards. Now keep in mind though, every time you rest at one of these, enemies come back. So there's also things you can do here. We could pass time. Now that item I talked about, that golden seed, this is where we're gonna do this. So we're gonna go to increase amount, and my mistake, wrong one. Add charge to flask. We're gonna use the golden seed, and there we go. And now we have another one. So as you can see there down at the bottom of the screen, we have 4 now. So this is, again, that stone key thing what I was talking about. So like later on down the line, and you can always come back here when you get one, but like if you wanted to start another character once you feel much more comfortable, you might pick that first. However, I still suggest this DS thing. So here we're going to pick up our finger siver. Now this is basically the way to start co-op right off the bat, and we can take a look at this and see. You get to see live, yep. Going through all the things. So this will send a person back while this will create a summon sign, and that's basically what you're going to use in order to get people to come and help you or to go help others, etc. Now, with that being said in mind, if you want to play with, say, just friends, you don't really want to just get some random person, which I still advise. Random people coming in and helping is always an awesome thing in the Souls games. We used to call it Sun Brothers here. They're still golden, actually, so I think it's still Sun Brothers and Sisters. And here is your multiplayer menu. You can set up a password so that way only your friends can come and join up and whatnot. You can also do a group password, which is really cool. So if we go over here to settings, and in this case, we're using Storm 1. Just fine. I don't care if everybody else knows about it. You can see here what this does is that anybody in this group password will be able to see summon signs, bloodstains, phantoms, and so on. So those messages I talked about are summonings and things like that. It's a recording of a recording. It is, yeah. It's in the future. I did this last night. I'm actually not here, even though I could read that and reply back to it. But that's how crazy it is. I knew you were going to say that in the future. So this is great if you want to basically, like, you know, if you got a group of friends that are all playing together and stuff like that, and you want to leave signs for them and say, oh, hey, there's a trap here, or hey, watch out for this, or oh, I found out that this weakness works on this boss, etc. You can put that down, and your friends can see that. They can also see your bloodstains, how you died, so they can maybe be like, okay, so don't jump off that cliff. Good, got it. Good to know. All right, so we get to the elevator, we go up. At this point, you've already gone through the training grounds, you've got a good feel for how the mechanics work, you know how to dodge, you know how to fight, etc. So here we go. Now we walk out into the world of Elden Ring. So we open this door. And we take in the magnificent open world, starting in Limgrave. So we're just going to take a second to just take it all in, because it is an absolute amazing feeling that first time you walk out and open those doors and you look upon this absolutely enormous landscape. And now keep in mind, this is only, not to overwhelm anybody, but this is only like the first part of the game is Limgrave. So because we can go ahead and click on our on our middle button here. For some reason I can't remember now the name, but there is a whole bunch of other land up above and around and stuff as we find map markers. So we're gonna come here to our grace, go into that, and this is going to, again, it's going to show you what button to use for your map. So if you're on PC, you're on Xbox, you're on PlayStation, it's going to show you what button you're going to use to open your map up. And then we're going to run into our first major NPC.
Oh yes, tarnished are we? Come to the lands between for the Elden Ring? Of course you have. No shame in it. Unfortunately for you, however, you are maidenless. Without guidance, without the strength of runes, and without an invitation to the Round Table Hold, you are fated, it seems, to die in obscurity.
So he's basically telling you right off the bat that those are like three main things you're going to want to have. You're going to want to have your runes, you're going to want to have your maiden, and you're going to want to be able to get to the round table. And we're going to discuss and we're going to show how to get all those to start. And that's really where we're going to go from there, and then show the kind of the start. This is going to be my starting guide, and showing you from there kind of my ways to where to go explore, things like that before. Because what's going to end up happening is, now he's going to explain how, as you can see here, and this is kind of the different thing that that From Software has done with this game, is they've kind of given you a direction that you want to go. So, you know, in other RPGs, like say Skyrim, for instance, you know, you automatically have that kind of waypoint where it's like, okay, go that way. That's the way you want to go if you want to do this mission or you want to get this main quest going. And they're kind of doing that here. However, what it really is kind of opening up your first few things, because right off the bat you're going to notice that there's this guy down here, and you'll be like, all right, there's a big dude on a horse. Okay, well, I guess that's my first adversary. But you're also going to notice that there's a lot of these blood pools all around, and this guy hits like a truck. So what From Software, or what Elden Ring is kind of basically being like, is, yeah, that's really much your first main boss if you want to take it on, if you feel like you have the skills to do it. However, in reality, you don't want to do that, because you want to get yourself powered up. You want to get yourself more, you want to get more runes, you want to buff up your weapons, you want to get new spells, etc., etc. I didn't come back and take on this guy till later on, probably about, I don't know, maybe 10 bosses in or something like that. Well, yeah, maybe about, I don't know, 8 to 10 bosses in. I didn't come back to this guy. And then especially I fought him on horseback, and that was a lot of fun. But that's the beauty of this game in terms of what they've done, is you have options. So there's a lot of these overworld bosses you're going to find. Like if we go out there, we're going to find another specific boss that's out there in that area. And we'll talk about that a little bit too, because that is another key area to check out. These can easily all be bypassed. They're optional bosses in their own way. They're the overworld bosses. They're not the main bosses. So these can easily be bypassed, and one thing that they do great in this game is you have stealth. So when you get into your stealth, and they'll teach you that in the training grounds and stuff, you realize that, hey, I don't have to go up that road, and I don't have to fight this giant horseman. I can go around the side, and I can go up that way. So that's the first thing. Now, in order to get your Maiden, the way they do it is you have to actually activate 3 of these sites of grace, and then she shows up. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to bypass this. And another thing, just not to get sidetracked, but one thing that From Software and Souls games do a lot is the NPCs always have more than one thing to say. So my advice is always go through all the talking.
You, however, there is one shining ray of hope for even the maidenless. Me. Vare. Take care to listen.
Congratulations, you just beat the Shard Bear.
The golden light that gives life to you tarnished. You may also behold its golden rays, pointing in a particular direction at times. That is the guidance of grace, a path that a tarnished must travel. Indeed. Grace's guidance holds the answers.
I still don't trust this guy.
Tarnished to the path you are meant to follow, even if it leads you to your grave.
So right there, he's kind of giving a little bit of a key word when he says, even if it leads you to grave, meaning that if you do follow this main path, you're going to be running into, and we're going to talk about that too, because there's basically the first main boss that a lot of people run into that I have a lot of trouble with, and that is Margit the Fell Omen. So if we follow this path that we're given, this main quest per se, we're going to go straight to him as we work our way up there and stuff, depending on if we rush it or depending on if we take our time. That's still, regardless, you're going to get to this guy, and you're going to find that he is very difficult. And the reason he's kind of giving you that little stab is to kind of give you a feeling of, okay, well maybe I want to go out into this massive world and go start exploring and get better and whatnot. So that's really what we go through. But again, make sure you go through.
Grace's guidance will reveal the path forward, most certainly, to Castle Stormvale. Over on the cliff,
There.
home of the decrepit demigod, Godric the Grafted.
I'll be fighting him today on my main character, which should be fun.
It's time you set off, I should think, to Castle Stormvale on the cliff, where Grace would guide you.
So as you can see here,
You seek the Elden Ring, maidenless as you are.
we basically have exhausted 4 times talking to him.
It's time you set off, I should think.
And now by the fifth one, he's saying the same thing. So again, make sure whenever you find an NPC, you always talk to them a couple times over, because they will more than likely have more things to say and give you little hints. And that's the way the game is always, the From Software games have always been mysterious, is they always kind of give you these little hints of things. Like in this case, like he's saying, you can go up there, but there's a good chance you're going to die. So we could also go the straight path, but there's a good chance we're going to die, and we're not going the straight path. So we're going to jump down here, and we're going to use this. And we are going to sneak by the horsemen, because we are so not ready. And unless you're pretty much, you know, one of those gods in Souls where you can take like no hits and stuff like that, you might go for that challenge, and you might go to it, you know, fight him first and whatnot. But and I know somebody's gonna, because there'll be those level 1 only Souls runs and stuff like that. So here's kind of the first place they want you to really go, is this church. This is where things kind of, we can explain more things as we go. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get the Site of Grace. And every time you touch one of these, if you die, they're going to basically send you right to it. Now, another good thing about this game is they have fast travel right off the bat. So any of these Sites of Grace you go to, all you have to do is go back, click on them, and you can teleport there. You can also... it'll tell you down at the bottom, if you hit, like say in this case, triangle, you'll see all the different ones that you can go to, and in the different lands, you know, as we open them up. So, you annihilated him with your plus 12 Uji Katana. Nice. Okay, so this, you're going to find these guys around the world. These are merchants, and they're very, very handy.
You're tarnished. I can see it. And I can also see that you're not after my throat. Then why not purchase a little something? I am Kale, purveyor of fine goods.
I have no idea who that is, but that sounds good. Alright, so now they have a new thing now too, where you can actually like ask them questions and stuff, which is kind of cool. They've never really had this before.
I am of a nomadic people, selling wares as I travel. The land has been tainted.
Oh, I shouldn't say that. Bloodborne actually had that, where you could ask some questions sometimes.
It's only tarnished like yourself, who keep things from drying up entirely. Let's say you're a very welcome customer.
So, you can also ask him a recommendation.
No, if you can spare the runes, you should buy yourself a crafting kit.
Mm-hmm.
A crafting kit allows you to make basic items on your own.
Yep.
Essential, really, if you intend to survive out here for any duration. The kit costs a bundle, and I admit I do take my cut. But the important thing is that you survive. Every customer counts, after all.
Just got Elden Ring on PC? Nice. Oh, okay, cool. I haven't gone further into the castle yet, so I haven't seen her yet. So right off the bat, he's telling basically that you should get the crafting kit. And I think maybe another thing.
If you can spare the runes, you should buy yourself a crafting.
Okay, so yeah, he's talking about the same thing.
The kit costs but the
So they really want you to buy that crafting kit, which is a good thing. The crafting kit is here. Again, now as we talked about runes that you'll get from defeating enemies, and you'll be finding little small runes that you can use to get more runes. Like golden runes, actually they're called. You use those to get more runes. You can use them to buy stuff, level up, the whole 9 yards. So this crafting kit is 300, not bad at all. This is definitely something I would say to get right off the bat, because when you do, you can go ahead and make things like arrows. If you're if you're a hunter or a ranger, or if you use a bow and arrow, you can as you get these cookbooks, they'll teach you how to make other things. So you can get stuff that stuff that you can use against poison, stuff you can use against some of the other ailments like bleeding and things like that. So definitely a good thing to go with. Now, Also, for you virtual photographers out there, and for people that want to see things from far away and get kind of an idea, this telescope is huge. It's pretty awesome. I use it a lot for taking a lot of my pictures and whatnot. I also use it to see, like, maybe certain paths I can take or find things I'm looking, just kind of going around and perusing the land and seeing things. So, always a good thing for that as well. And then these, which are pretty cool, are little like notes. They're kind of mysterious in their own right, but they give little hints and stuff like that. So in this case, like this might talk about the flask of wondrous physic, where later down the line when you find this is going to be a way to make like a flask that you use one time until you go back to the site of grace, but it can give like little bonuses, like say regeneration of HP or more stamina or higher strength, things like that, and you can build it up every time. You can change it out. It's like it's a one-time use item when you're fighting, but when you go back to rest, it always comes back, and you can always change it up and stuff like that. But we'll get into that a little further. That's more down the road. So those things definitely I would recommend picking up. And then over here, this is where they're kind of giving you a good, sense of, okay, you could start taking the weapon of your choice. In this case, it's going to be our staff. And we get what is called a smithing stone. Smithing stones are used to, as we can see here, we use the smithing table, we can strengthen what is called our armaments. Our armaments are like our weapons, basically. So we need one more of those smithing stones, and then once we have 200 runes, we can go ahead and we can put more stuff into whatever our weapon of choice is. In this case, like I said, the staff is going to be the big thing because we're casting spells from it and such. So that's going to be the one we're going to want to do. We're going to want to find ourselves another smithing stone. We can find these in different spots. As you go through the world, you'll find them. There are certain places that have a lot more of them, places you can grind them, etc., etc. So, with that being said, all right, so that's our second point of grace. Or technically, yeah, that's our second point of grace. So we're going to want to, so you can see here now, the golden path here, or whatnot, or the golden light is showing us to go this way. So we're going to keep going this way. And as you can see here, it also kind of gives like a little bit of a guide. Now, this on the map, whenever you see these are map markers. These things are fantastic. So what you want to definitely do is go and hunt this down. Anytime you get into a new land or area, you'll see on the road it's kind of fogged out or grayed or whatnot, but you might see this as you go on your map. These are great to get because what you're going to do is once you look at this, it's going to open up the entire map and show you things. And we'll go through that. So here, get ourselves some runes. This is also where you can get bones and things like I was talking about to make stuff. Now, depending on how you want to play, you could always sneak in. Want to do this? Backstabbing is a huge thing. Again, you're going to learn all this stuff in that little training ground I talk about in the beginning that they want you to go and play, play through and stuff to get an idea for stuff. Follow this up. We're gonna keep going north till we get to that. Now, another cool thing on this map is you can also place down beacons. So you can do that if you want. Let's see, if you just click back on them, and you can place markers. So the map doesn't really have it will have these little things, and it will explain these, but you might find something like, say, out here that doesn't have a marker to it, like a merchant or something. So the cool thing is you can actually open up your marker thing. You can put 100 of these down on the map if you want. So let's say we find a merchant here. We can put that down there, and we can remember to ourselves, okay, that's a merchant to me, so I know there's a merchant over that area. Also, if you want to remove it, you just go back on it, make sure you have the same one, click it, and it removes it. So we're going to continue up here. We've got our little marker down, as you can see here in our compass up at the top. It shows that. We're going to watch out for an enemy over here. We got some gauntlets right off the bat and some throwing knives. talking about more sorcery stuff. On guard, sir. On guard. I do like the prisoner, I gotta say. I like these kind of swords. I've always liked this kind of fighting style. Besides a big two-handed sword, which is my favorite, but still. But whenever I do magic users, I always like to do the swordsman magic user. It's always fun. Okay, so you hear that kind of like a little bit of a ding off in the distance. As we get closer up, it's going to get stronger. These down here, almost kind of like dung beetles in their own right, I guess you could say. They have these things. Now, in the Souls games, they had these like crystal lizards and stuff that you would attack and you would break, and they disappear if you don't get them in a certain amount of time. And they would give you stuff to usually upgrade your weapons and whatnot. In this game, what they've done is a couple things. Those red ones, so let's say you've been fighting away, you've been depleting all your flasks of health. If you break one of those down and you kill it, it will refill all your flasks for you. So that's another way you can do it. Plus, there is one other method to getting one flask filled. If you find a group of enemies together, so let's say there was like 4 bats over there on that rock right there. Hey, Otaku! So with the 4 bats on that rock over there, you would take those down, and it would give you like you would see kind of like a red, I guess, particle effect or whatnot that would shoot back into your body and stuff. That will fill up one of your flasks. So that is a good way too if you want to do that. Now there's also another one of those kind of dung beetle things that have blue ones. Hey, Toop! And the blue one, what that will do is that will give you different things from either Ashes of War, which we'll discuss more on that as we go into it, or it will give you, say, like maybe a stone for upgrading specific weapons, like more powerful weapons and things like that. So, alright, so we're making our way to our next thing of grace. I also totally bypassed... Oh, no, it's up here, that's right. Still heading our way here. And for those who are in the live stream right now, just to give a heads up, we are doing a kind of a starting guide, a how-to guide for people coming into the Souls games or Elden Ring for the first time and stuff. I'm just giving some like hints of my own and just kind of getting it out to start the adventure. So what we're going to do is we're going to make our way over here. Now we could bypass this camp. This does have a lot of enemies and whatnot. Or we can kind of go in stealth if we want. But one of the things I always advise before you start messing around with stuff, especially if you find a bonfire or a site of grace or whatnot, make sure you select it and get it going. So that way when you die, when messing around, you can always go back to it. Now we're going to go to sit. And this is where it's going to kick off. Congratulations on killing 3 bosses. That's awesome. Alright, I'm going to skip this so that way people can see it themselves and whatnot. But this is how you get your Maiden. Your Maiden is going to be a huge thing.
They serve the 2 fingers, offering guidance and aid to the tarnished. But you, I am afraid, are maidenless.
The big meme that's going around right now. I'm maidenless.
Of maiden, turning runes into strength to aid you in your search for the Elden Ring. You need only take me with you to the foot of the Erd Tree.
So, if you accept it, that's how you're going to level up. That's how you're going to do anything. I don't know what happens if you refuse, but my thinking is that if you refuse, basically you're playing like a level 1 Souls character, as they do it, like the no leveling up character and whatnot. So I would not suggest to refuse it. I would definitely accept it.
Summon me by grace to turn runes into strength. Ah, Another matter. I bequeath to you this ring.
Alright, so this also was a big thing when you find her for the first time. Like I said, after you basically rest at your third site of grace, she's going to give you this. This is going to be a key element in the entire game, which is your horse. And that is Torrent. Torrent is going to help you in a lot of things, from boss fights to getting around the world faster to progressing to different places you couldn't go before, etc.
Use it to traverse great distances.
As she's saying.
It will summon a spectral steed named Torrent. Torrent has chosen you. Treat him with respect.
Never. I will never. I never want to say never, but I will never do a level 1 playthrough. That's not my type. That's too stressful for me. Alright, so as you can see here, now we have the option to level up. So we can take...
Let my hand rest. Share them with me.
So now we can take... We don't have enough of them, but basically when you have the runes, it'll tell you exactly how much you need. You can go ahead and start building up the things you want. And as you can see here, as you click on each of these, it will show you exactly what they will upgrade as well too. Still trying to find a bow. I'm trying to think where I found a bow. Did I find a bow? Oh, I did. I don't think I found a bow yet, actually. Now that I think about it, I haven't found an extra bow yet. Oh, I think you can buy one. You can buy a bow from the merchants. I think you could buy a short bow from one of them and such. You don't know how people do it? A lot of patience and probably a lot of practice. Okay, so we gained that. Yeah, and they're talking about the pouch, which is a great thing. So with the pouch, what I normally will do is I'll come over here. I don't ever usually use the Memory of Grace. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to switch that out to be my Spectral Steed. My Spectral. Now another thing, I didn't really like I talked about it, I'm not going to really show where weapons are and stuff like that from what I found, but there is one here that you could pick up depending on your character choice and things like that. By the way, backstabbing is an amazing thing too. Any of these carriages that you find, and you will find these out in the open world. The great sword. Yes, my favorite weapon right now. Any of these carriages that you find in the open world, and there is a lot, or in the overworld, it will have weapons and such, or special items and such. So we found that great sword right off the bat. Now you can also see here that guy's carrying a horn. You want to be careful of him, because what he'll do is he'll summon other ones. Yeah, the mace, I believe, is on the other side. It's interesting. I think, I don't know if it's maybe depending on your character or whatnot, but I've found, it's actually funny, I was watching a streamer last night, that's not to get off the beaten track, but I think some of the chests are kind of random, too, or they have maybe a choice of items or something for some reason, because he opened a chest that I opened and had a completely different item, and I was like, oh. So I don't know. Alright, so as you can see here, this is where they're basically telling you to go through. Now, the good thing is you have Torrent, so you can make your way through. Oh, also, we want to do this real quick. Again, not to get sidetracked, but we can do this in one of two ways. We can just run over to there, or we can sneak our way over there, but this is definitely a key thing you want to get your hands on. Sneak in. And grab that. Then once I get clear of danger, I'll show you what that does. Okay, so now when we open our map, we have now opened up Limgrave West. So now we can see all the things. And this map, as beautiful as drawn, is also a way to look and find certain things. So as we can see here, it looks like there's something over here. You can see there's a cave over here. You know, there's all these different areas that you definitely want to go out and explore. Again, this is a big open world game, so I advise just going all over the land, because you can find items, you can find little dungeons and things like that and stuff, and we're going to discuss that more, because we're going to... So what a normal player would do for a first-time player, I think someone that was playing Skyrim or whatnot, this is my thought process, is I would think they're going to follow this, thinking, okay, the main quest is making me go this way. Right, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to play it out like that. We're going to play it out like, okay, I'm starting the game for the first time. This looks like a map. This looks like the way it's showing me to go. This must be my main quest, etc., etc. I do too, yeah. I absolutely love how the map expands. So, now we've got our horse. We could either try to fight these, but we're going to find out that there is an overwhelming amount of odds. So we're going to go ahead. We're just going to run through. And I feel like this is, again, what other players might end up doing, too. They got a horse, they're like, oh, I can just, boom, bypass all this. So we're going to make our way up. This is also a key thing. Make sure when you do get up here, you grab one of these, another golden seed. Like I said, when you start a character, definitely use the golden seed, because it upgrades your flasks. Or it gives you another one, I should say. And then you'll want another one from there. We're going to get some wind wolves. Oh, the weapon's not bad on horseback. Well, it's definitely not like the two-handed sword. It's basically kind of a thrust on there. Alright, we're getting eaten. Alright, so we're going to get out of there. Whenever you see this again, it's a grace. Go ahead and touch that. I'm gonna die, which is fine. We're just gonna jump back in. Oh, you went to the jail cell. Yeah, there's these gowls that are holding very nasty people. It's very cool. Alright, so that right there, as we saw, there was like these little twigs kind of like shooting up from the ground. That's how you get your runes back when you die. You kind of, depending on the situation, you're going to always want to try to go back and get them. But we picked them back up, so we're at our site of grace. We can rest here. Now again, I'm looking at this with the mindset of a new player, so they're following this right here, still going. We're going to go ahead and we're going to summon that back up. Oh yeah, he was red and everything, yeah. I think did he have a big shield with a spike on it? Because I think I know who you're talking about. So again, you got your horse, you're like, I can bypass these enemies and whatnot. Alright. So these are called Ashes of War. They're very cool. So what this game does compared to other Souls games is, so weapons before would have certain type of things to them, certain type of styles, or so you could only use this weapon to do this attack per se, or this special attack. What this game does now is you have these, which are called Ashes of War. And an Ash of War, what it does, it allows you to put it on any weapon. Well, any weapon within its thing, because as you can see here, axes, hammers, curved swords, great swords, specific weapons, I should say. And it will give you that ability that, say, only in like Dark Souls, only this weapon would have that. I'm getting shot. There's no pausing in this game, by the way, too, so just keep that in mind. So it's really cool if you want, say, you've got this really cool sword, or you got an axe, and you're like, man, I wish I had that special ability that other sword had. You can definitely do that. Alright, so again, going from the mindset of, a new player that might be like, oh, well, I can just make my way into this place. This is where they want me to go. I don't have to fight all this. I can bypass this. Following exactly where the game wants us to go. We're gonna get killed here, but that's fine, maybe. I was expecting that. That's perfectly fine. So that happens. We hit the site of grace, though. That's fine. No big deal. And what I'm kind of doing is like a scenario, right? New player comes in, they see the golden thing, the guide in there and everything like that. They're like, okay, well, they want me to come up here. Now, whether they would have fight their way through, that's impossible, or they might have rushed their way through, because sometimes that can definitely happen. And they get to here, you know, and then they're like, all right, well, this is the way the game wants me to go. We're going to keep going. We're going to find this. This is our summoning pool. This is how we get other players to come join us, co-op and stuff like that. So we're on, we have this as well too, where we can bring in an NPC. We're like, all right, you know what? Cool. Let's do this. A sorcerer. In the background, I'm smiling like crazy because of what's coming. Now, this is what the game is, like I said. So we're going to go over this for a second. When you first start, the game is basically saying, hey, this is the way to start to get to the first main boss, following these things and whatnot. We're going to take a second to think about what that NPC said. Sure, follow that path, but you're going to die. We're going to walk out here. We're doing exactly like I said, what maybe a Skyrim player that's coming into Souls for the first time, or an RPG player is coming into Souls, or an Elden Ring for the first time. Following the path.
By the flame of ambition.
I'm going to skip this actually, so that way you can enjoy this yourself. It's a great cutscene. You meet Margit, the Fell Omen. And then you say to yourself, oh my gods, what have I done? Watch me actually kill him on the first try. No, definitely not going to happen. Then again... that was a bad time to do that. Okay, so yeah, I'm kind of expecting to die here anyway, but yeah, okay. So that's what I was expecting regardless. And I would say that's more of a just like, you know, playing Souls games for so long as I have and stuff, being able to dodge a lot of that and doing... I felt like that was actually pretty good for a first try with this character with no upgrades or nothing. Okay, so then we get to there, and then you realize, oh my gods, what have I done? I'm not beating that! So... you're banging your head 10 more times. You're thinking, well, this is the way the game wants me to go and blah, blah, blah. So, now this is the beauty of Elden Ring. First off, because of being defeated by that, we're going to rest here, and something else is going to happen. There you are.
Forgive me. I've been testing you to see whether or not grace truly does guide you, and whether you are fit to face the challenge that entails.
All right, I'm going to skip to this so you can kind of see this, read this for yourself and whatnot. Again, a lot of this I want you to, like, I want the new player to take in, sit there and enjoy it, take it in, etc. stuff. So she's offering you now to go to the round table. And that's a huge place. So every game, every Souls game, Bloodborne, mostly every Souls-like game too, always has what is known as like the sanctuary, the place that like is your main hub, where you're going to be able to do different things. So here we are. Now we're at Round Table Hold. This is a place where you don't have to fight anybody, nothing like that. You get to talk to all these NPCs. You can also learn new spells and things from certain people. They will get kind of quests and stuff. And then over here, a big thing is you can get this guy, the Smith, who can upgrade weapons once you pass level 3. So that little anvil, which is here at the church, only allows you to upgrade up to +3. Anything after that, you're going to want to talk to this guy here to do. So once you get access to this place, this is really cool. You get different things. I definitely advise talking to Fia. I'm not going to explain why, but I definitely advise talking to Fia. I believe so. I think that's the only way I've seen her show up is through that. Be sure not to have high blood pressure. No, I mean, yeah, it is. It can definitely get the adrenaline pumping, especially when you're like at close to finishing a boss and you're like only a couple hits away and you only got a couple of health. You maybe got one health potion left, or you're allowed down to your last life bar, or whatever the case may be. Yeah, the pressure will go up a little bit. But it is enjoyable, and the biggest thing about these games is always overcoming the odds, which is a huge thing. All right, so anyway, so we get in here, take your time, go talk to everybody, go explore, and pretty much now we're gonna play Elden Ring the way it was pretty much meant to be played. What I mean by that is I'm going to explain as we get here.
This way, Tarnished. May I have a word?
Now, this is also a huge thing, because as you get defeated and you come back into this world after getting to the hold, this ends up happening. But you meet this amazing person.
A pleasure to meet thee, Tarnished.
Again, I'm going to skip through this so that way you can take your time, listen to it, etc., because I'm talking over a lot of this anyway. So, she's going to ask you if you can call the Spectral Street Torrent. Definitely want to tell her yes.
As I was entrusted by Torrent.
She's going to give you a spirit calling bell, which is a huge thing. Now, one of the things they've done in this game, they've added a new way to overcome bosses, and these are these spirit things. These spirit ashes.
Summon them with it. The spirits now it is that.
So you have a couple different ways you can fight bosses now. You can call a friend in. You can, sometimes there'll be an NPC that's hanging out there, as you saw by that little golden symbol next to Margit. Or you get these, which are summoning spirits. And these are really cool because they will help tremendously on boss fights and stuff. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and I'm going to set this one up. I love these wolves. They're amazing. You're going to want to exhaust all your talk with them.
How long will it be for the Tarnished type?
She disappears, fades off into nothingness. And now you can see the mist is gone, and you can, because if you actually go to try to talk to the merchant while she's there, it won't let you. It's like she stops time, basically. Alright, so now we're back here. We've done the thing. We've got that. We know that if we go up here to Margit, we're going to get our butt kicked. As a new player, now we're like, okay, I hate this game. I can't progress. The game's telling me go this way. I can't do it. But that's the beauty of this game, is that now we have options because we have this giant open world to go play with. And one of the places I can go suggest right off the bat is up around here. We're going to put a thing. Skull up there, not for death or anything. there is a cave. There's also another cave that's over on this side too. And these are what is called the optional bosses, but these are great ways in order to start leveling up and find items and things like that. So we're going to call out Torrent. Another good thing too is like certain creatures show up at night, certain creatures show up during the day, etc., etc. So yeah, she gives everybody the wolf one. You always get the wolf one at the start. We're going to go ahead and we can pass time. Another good thing about this game, we can make it daytime so we don't have to worry about some of the night things. There are some stuff that shows up at night. Also, these little goblin things are a little more powerful at night. So now we're going to go ahead, call in Torrent. We'll go to our first place. So again, now it's all about exploring. And finding these little optional bosses and optional areas and stuff, and finding new weapons and items and fighting things and such. Yeah, it's a cave full of wolves. Yep. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the horseback Esbok. Definitely like the two-handed sword more, but that's just my personal preference. Okay, so now we're gonna get off here, and this is kind of our first major cave. It's Grosive Cave. I always say this is kind of the first. A lot of people go for the gargoyle one, but honestly, I would personally say that this is probably one of the easier ones to start with. Now, this is also where you can summon in a friend and stuff if you click on that and open it up. Also, another big thing you want to get for that merchant, I didn't mention before, a lot of these caves might not have any light. So that's another big thing to have. I should have picked up a torch, actually. I didn't even think about that. Or we can get a lantern from the merchant later on down the road, and I can show where one of those are. That is one key thing to have as well, so that way you can keep your spells and your sword, or whatever, sword and shield up and everything like that. So again, it's all about taking your time and checking over things. So we can see down here, we've got a wolf in that corner. We got a wolf there. We got a bigger wolf there. Another wolf there. Starting to get a little aggressive. Go ahead and cast a spell. Boom, one shot on those, which is nice. Cool thing about that spell is you cast it, it kind of forms in the air and you can still fight, which I like that. Now we can drop down here, we can find an item, get our crack pot, which we can use that for crafting, to throw things and whatnot. We're gonna continue down here. Again, I should have grabbed a torch first, that's my bad. But I would definitely advise buying a torch, just going out fighting a few like deers or those things and whatnot, so that way you can see better in here. As it is going to be a little dark in this area now because I never grabbed a torch. So we don't even really need to use the spell right now too, which is nice. We're just getting in there, we're fighting, you know, things like that. Yep, there's the Cat Mausoleum one. Alright, so now we're going to make our way down. See, now this is where the torch would definitely have come in handy because it's going to get very dark down here. Which isn't too bad. They actually do pretty good with the light. Alright, so these right here are golden mist or fog doors as they're called in the Souls universe. That usually means whenever you open one of these up, you're going to run into a boss. So we're going to make sure that we're prepped. We're going to go ahead and take that. We're going to go ahead and take that. It's our only one. That's fine. Oh, actually, we're going to end up losing on that, but that's fine. And now, what we're going to do is we're going to use our summon. And like I said, this is where it's going to make things 100% easier. So I'm automatically, when you get in there right off the bat, summon up. Probably going to want to dodge out of the way. And then let the wolves go to town. And then just kind of, you know, plan your strikes. The boss will come after you. But the wolves are there to kind of distract. So it's basically whatever really damages, that's when he's going to turn on. So if they start damaging and such. So now, as you see, we've done some damage, and so he's like, all right, listen. Kind of goad him into the wolves. There you go. Now he's focused on them. Good time to cast a spell or whatever you might be doing. Now also keep in mind, these aren't the end-all be-all, because as you can see, they have health bars and whatnot. So if it's a really nasty boss, they might end up getting killed. And there we go. And now we have successfully completed our first boss fight. That's when you can pretty much kind of do this. Yeah! And that's the key. That's really much. It's like now it's a matter of exploring and stuff. So now the good thing about these little mini dungeons or mini places is that they all have these ways to get back to the entrance, so you don't have to go back through or whatnot. And it was hit, dodge, dodge, hit. It depends on the character you're playing and stuff. If you have a shield, I mean, I would, you know, like my other character, my knight or my dragon knight, he uses like a shield a lot. Hey, Lou. So there you go. And then you come back out here, and you can go back in here to at least get your grace going on. Now we've got also some runes that we can use. So we can go right to our level up. So now we've got options. We can start putting our vigor up. We're going to also start putting our intelligence up. We don't have enough of that yet. That's fine, but at least want to get the vigor. So as we can see here, our HP drops from like 434 to 455 because we are going to be in combat with this character. And then it's a matter of literally just exploring from here on in. So obviously Margit was a huge thing where it's like, oh crap, I am not ready for this. But that's the key. So now we've got this world to go, you know, we've got all this area to explore, and we can just fast travel back when we do feel ready to fight Margit. Or we might find some key things that we're like, oh, this will work out perfectly on him. So you've got all this to now explore and whatnot. And that's, again, that's really the key. We're going to take that off. So my advice right off the bat, there's a cave here. There's another cave that's like right in this corner here. I would hit those two up first. Those are like your first two kind of main bosses, just to kind of, or not main boss, but mini boss or whatnot, you could say. Those are your first two mini bosses you could definitely go after and get some runes from, kind of get a good feel for how the little dungeons are going to progress and how they're going to work and stuff, and the traps and things like that. There's also another one that is down here on the beach. So there's three right off the bat you can go work towards. Another big thing over here, this is a mine. This is really good to start picking up smithing stones, so you can go ahead and start working with that. You can also, the mine is actually really good. I would advise going here. Just be careful of what's kind of in the center there, but you'll deal with that as you go, because again, I don't want to give anything away. I want people to kind of like take it in, enjoy it and stuff like that. And that's really about it in a nutshell. When it comes down to it, is just taking your time, exploring, enjoying it. And if you come to an opposition where you're like, I can't get past this, you have options. Like, I haven't even faced the first, like on my character, I've like cleaned out this entire beginning map. And I haven't even faced the main boss yet, because I've just been in, well, I enjoy exploring. I love exploring anyway. But, like, you know, I don't even know how he's going to react when I go to fight him and stuff like that. But in my case, like, I've just done and explored and done all kinds of things all out in these areas and stuff. And then if you want to find certain things, like if you're looking for certain weapons or you're looking for certain spells, that's when go over to, like I said, Fextra Life is a perfect site for that. It has videos, the whole 9 yards. I would highly advise going to Fextra Life and checking out like certain things you might want and stuff. So. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's what I said. Yeah. When you get your horse, yeah. When you get Torrent, you're going to be on that a lot going around. It's great for boss fights. It's great for the overworld boss fights. It's great for exploring. You can use it to get to certain areas you couldn't get to on your feet and things like that. So, yeah, that's really it in a nutshell. That's the starting guide. That's my personal starting guide. Again, any questions, leave in the comments and whatnot. And, I hope you enjoyed as much as I am. I absolutely love this. This is my favorite From Software game. I think it's my favorite open world RPG, actually. It's absolutely incredible, and I don't want it to end. But thank you, everybody who's come by to check out the starting guide. I appreciate it. Now I'm going to change the stream over and go to my main character and continue on where I'm at. So I just wanted to make this for people who wanted to kind of get into it, get involved, get an idea how to start, what to do, and things like that. Again, if you're looking for certain things, though, definitely go to Fextra Life. They are a great site for finding items and finding things, also class builds and class guides and stuff like that. So I don't really do a lot of that stuff. I just like to explore and adventure and have stories to tell. And that's it. So again, thank you, and I appreciate you checking out this video / was a stream, and yeah, go from there. All right, on our end, guys, we're going to shut this down for a moment, and I'm going to be right back because I'm just going to replace this with my normal stream and come back over on my Ranger and stuff. So just give me about 5 minutes just to change this all over. I just wanted to make this for people coming in, new players, and getting a good feel for how the game kind of works with and stuff like that. So I'll be back in just a moment, so I'm going to shut this down, and then I'm right back. So give me literally just 5 minutes. Just take a quick break to get up and do all the thing anyway.